A very good Tuesday afternoon to you. Hello. Thanks for being with us on the Court TV Live Facebook page. I'm Julie Grant, and this is your daily sidebar. Got my wonderful colleagues, Ted Rowlands, Vinnie, Politan, Seema, Iyer, all standing by remotely. We're all still doing our part at Court TV to social distance ourselves and in order to further prevent the spreading of coronavirus. And we're so happy you're joining us for this discussion. We've got lots of great things to tell you. We told you yesterday we're going to be talking about Tiger King, the big lawsuit that Joe Exotic has filed today. The sheriff in Hillsborough County, Florida, talked about asking for new leads in the case, in the investigation of the disappearance of Don Lewis. So we will get to all of that, and we want to get your thoughts on all of this. Yeah, see that right there? That was the tweet that the sheriff sent a short time ago asking for new leads in this case. So we're going to update you on Tiger King, and please give us your comments, give us your thoughts, your questions, share them all. And if we can, we'll get them into this broadcast as well. We're so glad you're along with us. Now to the big special announcement we have for you first. Court TV doing a brand new live show starting tomorrow night, led by the great Vinnie Politan. Vinnie, I want you to, if you would, please.
Yeah, this is big news. You know, we've been, staying in contact with everyone and working here on social media and digitally. But we're going to be back on TV live every night from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Every night, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. beginning on Wednesday night. And this is an opportunity for us to bring you those stories that you want to hear about. I mean, there's a big story out there, coronavirus. We understand that. But there's also true crime stories out there. There is coronavirus impacting our judicial system. But we're going to be back on live each and every night. And the best part is that we can all be together. And when I say all of us, I mean you and I at home, but also me and Julie and Seema and Chanley and Julia and Ted and all of us working together on this one mega show on Court TV. And I think we're going to go to places that, in the normal, day-to-day trial coverage we can't go to, but we're going to get there. So this is going to be exciting. All begins Wednesday night, Julie.
Yes, Vinnie, we can't wait. 8 p.m. Eastern time until 11 p.m. Eastern time. So set your reminder right now on your phone. We're going to keep reminding you here on the Court TV Facebook page, Twitter, all that as well. And like Vinnie said, if it's a big legal story, you can count on us bringing it to you. And why not give you a little preview right now since you're taking to watch this Facebook Live. Seema, tomorrow night, as Vinnie said, we're all going to be reporting and giving analysis and contributing in the show. You've got a great one you're bringing tomorrow.
Yes, I have one of Vinnie's favorite trials ever, and that was the Jodi Arias case. She filed an appeal, and this is so interesting. So the two major issues that she had with how the trial unfolded were the trial publicity and the prosecutorial misconduct. And the part of the trial publicity they even cite in the court's decision is Court TV, which at the time became In Session. And Vinnie, you covered this case. Did you think the trial publicity was in any way egregious or influence how the trial unfolded?
You be quiet, Ted. Listen, let me tell you how this, can we start with why the Jodi Arias case was on the radar to begin with? The moment she gets arrested for the brutal murder of Travis Alexander, Jodi Arias, dressed in her stripes, holds a press conference at the jail and invites the media in and is putting on makeup as she's waiting to answer questions about this. So the reason this whole case got the publicity it got was because of her. Then at the end of the day, the jury does like they do in every other case, like O.J. Simpson, like Casey Anthony. They base their verdict on what happens inside the courtroom. So she was no different than the others. And no. And she wants to blame people, blame herself.
Well, I have a great line from this decision, and that is the trial publicity was extensive, but nothing in the record reflects anything comparable to the mockery of justice that occurred in other trials. So the court was definitely not convinced. And the court also said that nothing detracted from the solemnity of the proceedings, nor create a setting wholly inappropriate for the administration of justice. So the judge, the court wasn't convinced, the appeals court. Also, and again, Vinnie, you had an up close seat to this, that Juan Martinez, I mean, most of her argument is about Juan Martinez bullying, being inappropriate, yelling, and all of this, according to the defense, started. And actually, I have to say, the court really agreed with a lot of it, that Juan Martinez was so aggressive, even during voir dire. There was one point where he was picking jurors, and he was just like screaming at jurors. Was he that bad, Vinnie?
Yes.
Yeah. Ted, weigh in, would you please?
Well, Vinnie covered Arias extensively every night in his studio in Atlanta, which, by the way, they recreated Travis Alexander's apartment and recreated the murder on a nightly basis, which was extraordinary. The amount of attention this case got was through the roof. I was in the courtroom for the whole thing, and I've never seen a prosecutor act the way that Juan Martinez did. Very effective. People fell in love with him. Women wanted to marry him, but he was absolutely abusive to anybody that crossed his path. So that's why there was a lot of agreement with this portion of the appeal. It was amazing to watch it unfold. And Vinnie is downplaying the amount of coverage that he was able to pull off. His show every night after dark was unbelievable. They had a live studio or live audience in Phoenix, actually outside the courthouse, that they incorporated into it. It was 10 times more than OJ or anything else that we've seen.
Really?
The amount of coverage that was broadcast, and the way it was broadcast. People couldn't get enough.
Wow, that's amazing.
We have a few great viewer comments. What a great
good.
Get your reactions. Vinnie, you're going to like this one. Well, actually, you'll like both of them. First one, this is from Cynthia Como. Cynthia said, Jodi Arias courted the media. Cynthia.
Oh, she did. Yeah, she loved it.
I always listen to Cynthia. She knows what she's saying.
And you'll like this one too. This is from Shirley Edwards, and she says, "You tell them, Vinnie," all caps.
and let me tell you this though, Ted, and the reason I think that everyone was so shocked by Juan Martinez, that's the way he is in all his cases, by the way. That's the way he lawyers, is that he acts like a criminal defense attorney. And people are so shocked when you have a prosecutor who acts like a criminal defense attorney. Let me tell you, if in fact that appellate court that was criticizing Juan Martinez ever had an opportunity to take a look at the transcripts of what criminal defense attorneys do, they would say the same things about some very good, very effective criminal defense attorneys. But they never do that. You know why they don't do that? Because when the defense wins, the prosecution can't appeal it. So they never even look at those transcripts. So they don't know what really happens in these courtrooms day in and day out. So Juan Martinez was just giving them a taste of their own medicine.
Agreed. I mean, he was as effective as anybody I've ever seen in a courtroom. He controlled the courtroom, and he was enraged like a good defense attorney gets. And it came through, and sometimes I thought he was abusive. Now, but he was absolutely effective. And you're right, Vinnie. Jodi Arias started it from the very beginning, and she kept it going. She was doing interviews throughout her trial. After the verdict, she did an interview within 5 minutes. She loved playing the audience, and she did it on a daily basis. When she was on the stand, she was talking to people at home. She knew it.
Yeah, and Seema, for the show tomorrow night, we don't want to give him everything, but are you going to talk to Nurmi? Is Nurmi going to talk to you? Nurmi?
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
I am scheduled to talk to him today, and he is another fascinating character in this trial. I mean, Juan Martinez, Jodi Arias herself, and of course, Kirk Nurmi, they're all so fascinating. They're really interesting people, and I cannot, especially everything he has said after the trial. I can't wait to get his take on the status of Jodi Arias.
He hates Arias more than anybody.
Yeah. Read his book. His book is unbelievable.
Well, and I think, at least for me, it really resonated because It is such a tough place to be in when you're representing someone who, you know, in that case, it was a death penalty. I've never had a death penalty because I practice in New York, but people who face life in prison and you don't like them, you're not able to get along, you're not able to get through to them. It is a horrible, horrible place to be. It is really such a tough job being a defense attorney. I just can't explain it to people enough. And I you know, how he felt resonates with me for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
No death penalty in New York, but on Law and Order, they do have the death penalty in New York.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Good point. Good point, Vinnie. All right. So tomorrow night, we're all going to be tuning in. 8 p.m. Eastern time is the time. Court TV is the place. We will be live on Court TV. And let's switch gears now, shall we, and talk about the big story. It's been taking over Twitter. It's been somewhat uniting people in a strange way in terms of what people may be watching while they're at home and self-quarantining. Tiger King, the big Netflix documentary. The big main character is this guy here, Joe Exotic. Real legal name is Joseph Maldonado Passage, and he's making some legal news that we want to dive deep on here in Court TV, and that is a federal lawsuit he filed, and he is suing the United States Department of the Interior, United States Fish and Wildlife Services, the U.S. attorney who prosecuted him, a confidential informant the government used who's in the documentary, a guy named James Garretson. If you watched it, you know who he is. He's called a businessman in the documentary. Jeff Lowe, who's one of the big characters, who's one that's, it's just head spinning, his life story and everything. And he's also named among some others. And I'm just going to read you a direct quote because we pulled this lawsuit at Court TV. We're going to keep digging down on it. But this just kind of sums up. Now, Joe Maldonado, this guy, Joe Maldonado Passage, he hyphenates, he is pro se. So he's filing this federal suit himself. It's filed in Oklahoma and United States District Court, the Western District of Oklahoma. And in one paragraph, I'm quoting directly, he says, the plaintiff contends that this is the worst kind of gross negligence on the part of the government's side of tearing down the very justice system this country is built on by allowing perjury to gain false convictions, selective enforcement of the law, discrimination, and blatant violation of the oath of office to uphold the law equally and fair. End quote. And the relief he's requesting, he's seeking for the loss of his personal property. He says he's done 18 years of research, caring for 200 generic tigers and crossbreeds of tigers for 365 days a year for 18 years of his life. Do the math with a boarding rate of $60 a day, grand total $78,840. And an additional $15,000. Oh, I'm sorry. This is more than. Excuse me. My eyesight's playing tricks on me. We're talking 78 million here, and then 15 million there for the false arrest, false imprisonment, all of that. So this guy is seeking big bucks here. And what do we think? Want to go around the horn here and get your thoughts on this lawsuit? It has me intrigued.
I love a good pro se lawsuit, Julie. I love these so much. And okay, first thing is when you see a lawsuit that says pro se on top, you have to just stop reading because nothing after that is legitimate. Just throw it all out. Because he could, if this was a legitimate lawsuit and he had any money, he could have gotten a lawyer to represent him, or a civil rights organization. If someone out there really believed that his rights were violated, then they would have represented him pro bono. Instead, he's representing himself. This is hysterical, this lawsuit.
Yeah, this is someone who's going to keep, and my dad was a federal judge. This is a man who's going to keep the judges' law clerks very busy for the next 20 years. I mean, he's going to be filing motions and lawsuits and this and that. I know the type. He is who he is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, maybe he will get another day in court, and it may just be to get something dismissed, but he may get a field trip out of all this.
Yeah, Ted, what do you say? What do you say?
Oh, I love Joe Exotic. I love everything about him, and the fact that he's in there filing lawsuits. It makes perfect sense, and obviously it's not going anywhere. But what I also love is the fact that this Netflix documentary is now generating tips into Carol Baskin's missing husband. which, that's really throwing things into the loop for her. All of these people are insane. That, if you watch this thing, they're nuts.
Hey, let's give everybody the spoiler alert, right? Just in case we talk, we don't want to spoil anything for anybody. And you guys, the three of you know this docuseries much better than I do. So is there any, because I guess Joe said, accused Carol of murdering her husband and feeding him to her big cats. Is there any evidence that Carol murdered her husband?
Well, maybe this is an open case. It is open.
Oh, wow.
Today, Sheriff Chris Chronister in Hillsborough County, Florida, opened this up to the public after all the attention. He said, look, this is a great way for us to ask the public again, do you have any leads? And what they're really hoping for is that people close to this case who may have some information will have a change of heart, because this disappearance, we're talking many years ago, 1997, Jack Don, he was known by the name Don Lewis, disappeared. He was Carol Baskin's husband, and he left behind a will that is somewhat mysterious, may indicate that he was in fear for his life. And the documentary details some of that. And law enforcement looked at it and said that there just isn't enough evidence around the will to show whether or not it was falsified in any way. It's a convoluted case, they're saying. But what they did reveal, I thought was interesting. This came out in the presser today from the sheriff. He said that in 2011, that was really the last big activity, if you will, on the case. They offered Carol Baskin an opportunity to do a polygraph test. And she declined. And she said it was, her attorney told her it wouldn't do anything to vindicate her. They took some DNA samples from family to enter into a DNA database. And so it's really something I think the one really good thing that's come out of this documentary is it shed some light on this missing persons case. I mean, it's a disappearance case that they never closed. They never made it a cold case. And this guy's family is in the documentary, and my heart breaks for them. I know your hearts do too, because they want answers. And maybe with all of this, I mean, what we really saw with Joe Exotic's case is people flipping on each other, people rolling, and the government making their case with these confidential informants, people working with him in the business, having dealings with him. And I'm intrigued about that, particularly.
Well, I think this is great that we're going back on the air with Vinnie's new primetime show, because now Vinnie can lead the charge in finding out who killed Carol's husband.
No, that's going to be Julie's job. That's going to be Julie's
job. Okay,
Julie.
Okay, that's fine.
Julie's in charge of that one.
So Julie,
yeah, I'm going to be on Vinnie's show. That's what I'm going to be reporting on.
Julie is going to work for Court TV Investigates and come on, and she's going to find him.
She's now. I'm going to be.
She's the Tiger King bureau chief. And she's going to find out what happened to Carol's husband. Oh, here's something really cool that you guys are going to love. So there's, I guess, some new series, a limited series based on Tiger King that's going to be coming out. And guess who is playing Carol? Any guesses?
Suzanne Summers.
Better. Ready?
Ellie Bertinelli.
Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, gosh.
That's awesome.
That's
It's awesome. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I'll show you guys something amazing. Here's a clip. Clip for those who may be unfamiliar and want to watch the series. This really sums it up. This is Joe Exotic. Listen to what he says. This is on his internet show that he had for a time.
You want to know why Carol Baskin better never, ever, ever see me face to face ever, ever, ever again.
Oh my! Okay.
They're crazy. They're crazy. They're crazy cat people. You've got Joe Exotic in Oklahoma, who's off his rocker, as we just saw there. Carol Baskin down in Florida, who is now trying to save the Tigers after doing the exact same thing that Joe Exotic was doing. And then Doc Antle up in South Carolina, who has a harem of women, a cult-like atmosphere at his place, where he also brings. These people are self-absorbed. They are using these animals to build themselves up. Look at me with my big cat.
Right.
And they're disgusting human beings. The fact that they couldn't get along with each other is beautiful, because it landed Joe Exotic in jail. Carol might be following, and watch out, Doc, they're coming for you.
I think Joe might be in some big trouble too. I think he may possibly be next if I had to
Oh, wow.
guess. I want to see if these things intrigued all of you as much as they did me. Reading this lawsuit, when he talks about the man named Alan Glover, he is the man who was allegedly supposed to be the hitman in the murder for hire plot. And Joe Exotic in this lawsuit says that this guy lied under oath, saying that he gave him a cell phone, saying that he actually went to the state of Florida. We know Joe Exotic's zoo was in Oklahoma. And if he did get on the stand during this federal trial and perjure himself and lie, and the jury believed it, this is a problem. To me, this is a big problem. And there may be some real merit here.
But why didn't he tell his lawyers at the time that, instead of after now? I mean, the point is, if someone lied on the stand, then number one, you alert your lawyer to it right away. And number two, if you have an investigator, the investigator investigates mid-trial. If you don't, you get the court to get you an investigator if you can't afford one. I mean, this was a trial issue, not a post-conviction issue.
But I mean, what could he do about, if he's saying that to his lawyers, if the government lawyers putting this witness on? So
his lawyers have a duty to investigate. So now he has a better ineffective assistance of counsel claim that his lawyers did not, take what he said and do something about it. They didn't investigate at the time, and they may have waived his rights.
How about if prosecutors are knowingly putting a witness on the stand who is lying and they know is lying? I think that might be the best avenue for all of this, because I guess the story is that he didn't go to Florida for this alleged hit. He went on vacation in South Carolina. Now, here's the one thing I will say. This is a great series. I got hooked very quickly. I was fascinated on many different levels, including the legal true crime level. But I always take with a grain of salt these shows, because we know that television producers have the final say on what ends up in, what ends up out, what we hear, what we don't hear. And it seems that Carol and her husband has gone public saying that they were bamboozled by the filmmakers or by the series producers. And there's a lot of things that are misrepresented from their perspective. So there's a lot of room here, perhaps, where the truth may lie outside of the series, which may be another fascinating part of this entire story and case, Julie, as we go forward, covering it on Court TV. I think you're going to have people coming out and say, okay, you talked about this in the series, but here's what really happened. And I think that's part of the story now, part of the legal story also.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Vinnie. If anybody's watching this and has information about it and has been part of it, wants to share their story with us, please, we want to hear it. Just looking at some of the things he said, I mean, it's pretty fascinating. He makes what I thought was the most outrageous thing in this suit was he talks about being discriminated against and saying that because he was locked up and targeted and whatnot while his mother was at home, I presume staying in the area where the zoo was or near the zoo, she was a victim of, quote, possible murder by overdose. I don't know what he means by that. I've never heard of such a crime, but I want to know more. I know that I would like to hear more. And then when he said that she was cremated by these individuals caring for her before the death announcement was made, I'm going, what on earth? This is stunning stuff. And where I want to know more about the government and what happened, he talks about this argument about putting generic tigers on the endangered species list and doing it not to protect the tigers, which would be for the right reason, but to stop businesses like his from showcasing them at the little fairs and the events at the zoo and whatnot. And I thought to myself, and he talks about through all the 18 years he had the zoo, nobody was coming forward and doing anything. And so it does kind of make me pause and stop and think, and I'd like to hear more about what happened at the trial. How about you guys? And also the fact that he was charged with the murder for hire plot first, and then they did a superseding indictment with all the wildlife charges. He says it was because he wouldn't plead to the murder for hire charges. What do you think?
Well, that was a strategy too by the government, a really good strategy, because you were able to then this guy who's sitting at the defendant's table, and you can frame him as an animal abuser, and you can now, a juror is going to be disgusted on a whole nother level than the murder for hire plot. If I think you take that away from that case, it's very flimsy, the murder for hire plot, because of the inconsistencies with the alleged hitman. He never went to Florida, et cetera, et cetera. They did that strategically. It was a brilliant move by the prosecution, but it's also a controversial one.
Right. We've got some viewer comments. Let's throw these in. These are great. First one is from Amanda Minier. Thank you all for these, by the way. Thank you. We love them. Amanda says, Joe Exotic and Carol were the distraction that we didn't know we needed. LOL. Yes. Yes. And we have one from Hallie Regan. Hallie, thank you for this. Hallie writes, Carol fed her husband to her tigers. You know, Hallie, your legal theory is that many out there watching this and speculating, and we'll see what the investigation shows.
Yeah, her new husband of 14 years, who she's never had a fight with or an argument with, their claim is that he just kind of wandered off. He just wandered off. He was losing his mind. He was never really that rich when they met, and at the end, he was making some strange decisions and just wandered off. So that's what, if there ever is a trial or charges, it seems that's what the defense is going to be.
Right.
Why wouldn't you take a lie detector test on did her husband wandered off? Mr. Howard Baskin, Mr. Passive Aggressive, he was always supporting Carol. But meanwhile, he is suing Joe Exotic and going after they're all filthy.
Mm-hmm. And Wendy Lunn, here's a good one. Wendy writes in to us, this could only happen in America. Wendy, thank you. This is really something. I mean, America's really gotten on board. We see celebrities tweeting about this. It's crazy. And we have this is a great legal question. This is coming in from Pauletta Leary Clepley. What happens if they never find a body? Excellent question, and they very well may not. But there could still be a prosecution of, let's just say for the sake of the teaching lesson here, Carol Baskin, let's say they find enough evidence against her to charge her. There could be a prosecution without the body of her first husband. Or someone else could be prosecuted for this case. Who knows? But apparently she's the one that was asked to take the lie detector in 2011. So draw whatever inference you might from that. Let's see. I have one comment I want to read now. This is from Tammy Lynn. Tammy writes, I do believe that you should not be able to buy big cats. They belong in the wild and protected. Thank you for that, Tammy. Yeah, the one thing that's a head scratcher for me is, what's the big difference between Carol Baskin's zoo and Joe Exotic Zoo and Doc Antle Zoo? And I mean, they all have one thing in common. They're all having these tigers in cages on the property. I don't know. I'm not an expert. What do you think, Vinnie?
Yeah, and people are coming to see them. People are paying to come see them. So, it's an interesting issue. And what separates big cats from any other animal? And obviously, there's organizations like PETA believe in one thing, and then there's other folks who have a different viewpoint on it. It'll be interesting to see what the ultimate impact is of Tiger King, because now, I mean, I never even thought about this issue. Never thought about it. I would watch all the TV shows when they bring on the tiger cubs and people would pet them and it'd be cute and this and that, and never realized there's this incredible movement against all of that. And I think more people will think about it. But at the end of the day, you've got to decide, will there be laws against it or will there not be laws against it? And, where is the line? What do you decide is abuse and what is not abuse? I mean, some people claim anything other than letting them live in the wild is abuse. Mm-hmm. So it's up to us collectively to figure out where those lines are, and up to lawmakers to figure it out.
Great point.
The problem with these tigers is they're cute and they're manageable when they're young, and then they grow and they eat and they cost tons of money and they are dangerous. So the allegation is these tigers end up dead by the people that were profiting from them. If they can't sell them as cubs, once they get to a certain age, some of them end up euthanized because they can't afford them anymore, and then the ones they can afford are in cages that are much too small. You look at the video from this documentary and it is heartbreaking. Multiple tigers in muddy, disgusting cages, confined, going back and forth. Something needs to be done.
Yes, Ted. We have a clip from a former employee at the zoo in Oklahoma, and he talks about what Joe told him to do. Let's watch.
Who was I going to tell? According to him, he said this more than once, that it's just like having a house cat or a dog. It's your personal property, and you're totally allowed to do whatever you want to with them. Euthanize them, put them down for whatever reason, at any time.
That's a big issue in this. The issue is whether he euthanized 5 generic tigers, and he says in his suit here that he followed the law in the way that these tigers were put down, and the government, of course, said the opposite. We got a viewer comment here. This is interesting. This is from Naressa Radford. She says, "I'm from Oklahoma, and I heard people are taking a tour of Joe's place."
No, wait. I wonder where the proceeds go for the tour. That's what I wonder. Who is running these tours? This is insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, Jeff Lowe owns everything now. That Joe Exotic was sort of bamboozled into signing over everything to Jeff Lowe, Mr. Threesome, who came into the team.
Yes.
He also loves tigers because tigers produce ladies. So Jeff loves the whole tiger game. And that's a whole nother crazy, disgusting lane in this demented story.
This demented saga.
Oh, it really, really is. And let me see if there are any more viewer comments here. Let us know if you have anything else for us. And we're going to wrap up this discussion, but we're going to keep talking about it. If you're just now joining in, I'm going to have a big report on this on Vinnie's show Thursday night. Tune in. That's the big news, 8 p.m. Eastern time till 11 p.m. We're going to start going live again on Court TV, not here on Facebook, on Court TV. So we look forward to seeing you there. And let's wrap up with this. We got another comment from Danielle Brousard. She says, "I think tamed exotic animals still have their wild side. You just never know what they will do." Absolutely. And if you watch this series, and spoiler alert, you'll see Danielle's point to be made. What they will do. They're wild animals. Pauletta Cleckley says, "We miss you all. Special shout out to our 13th Jurors Club celebs. Hashtag stay safe." That's a really great note to end on, Pauletta. We love you all. Thank you so much for that. And let me go around the horn here and get some quick final thoughts, and then we will say goodbye. Ted, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. to 11 Eastern. Tune in, Court TV. And
you've got Cult Mom tomorrow night too, right? You're going to do
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about another saga that boils my blood. Cult Mom, we're all over it.
We're all infuriated. No, absolutely. I'm talking about that one as much as Tiger King. And Seema, tomorrow night, quick thoughts, please.
Tomorrow night, Vinnie's show is a dream come true for me because it allows me to go into all these legal stories that I'm dying to tell our viewers about, really important stories, being able to share that, being able to do more than just one thing. Absolute dream come true, and please come along for the ride with us, 8 p.m. Central.
Very good. And Vinnie P, last but certainly not least, my friend.
Sure. Looking forward to tomorrow night. We got a lot of work to do between now and then, but what we've done really over the past couple of weeks here is prepare for this, and we'll be doing it in a safe manner. There'll be distance. Some of us will be home. Some of us will be at the studio. We'll all be separated. So we'll do it in a responsible way, but we want to make sure that we can continue to provide to all the folks at home all the information and news in what we do and our system of justice. So we'll continue to do that so you can take a break from time to time from the Corona COVID coverage. As you learn about that, I want you to be able to take a little bit of a break and keep in contact with other stories that are very important as we work through all this together. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Well said. Perfect note to end on. Stay well, stay healthy and safe. Everyone, keep social distancing and washing your hands. We love you. Thanks for being with us here on Court TV Live for your daily sidebar on Facebook. This is the last one, and then we're going to see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, switching gears. That's where our live broadcast will be from here on out. Stay with us. Have a great day.